Hello, my name is Bill Cooper, your host for Toro's Professional Course Maintenance Series. Today, we'll be looking at the Toro Reelmaster 3100D. This mower is equipped with rollover protection and seat belts. This model also has the optional Sidewinder feature, which allows side-to-side movement of the reels. We'll demonstrate that a little later on. Now, before we take a closer look at the Reelmaster 3100D, there are a few things that you'll need to know. First of all, it's extremely important that you complete the Turf Maintenance Equipment Safety Education program available from your Toro distributor. And read the operator's manual, located in this tube next to the operator's seat. The manual includes detailed instructions on safety, operation, and maintenance. This video is not a substitute for the safety education program or a thorough reading of the manual. When operating a mower, it's important to wear substantial leather shoes or work boots and avoid any loose-fitting clothing or jewelry that could get caught in moving parts. Hard hats, safety glasses, and hearing protection are always a good idea and may be required, so make sure you check your local ordinances, insurance, and course regulations. In this video, we'll cover the operation and general maintenance of the machine, along with important safety procedures. Your attention is extremely important if you want to make sure your Reelmaster is able to do all the work it was designed to do, so that you can operate the machine safely and not damage the machine or the turf. To safely get on the machine, step in from the left-hand side. The Reelmaster 3100D was designed to make mowing as easy as possible. All the controls you need to safely operate the mower are within easy reach of the operator's seat. You'll notice the seat is designed for maximum operator comfort. This lever adjusts the seat forward and backward. And always make sure you have your locking seat belt on when operating the Reelmaster 3100D. Let's take a moment to go over the controls located on the operator's platform. These two pedals are for traction control, forward and reverse. Your ground speed depends on how far you press the traction pedals. This is the Mow Transport switch. To the left is Transport, and to the right is Mow. The cutting units will not operate except in the Mow position. Use your heel to move from Transport to Mow. Also here on the operator's platform is a storage compartment. A tilt steering adjustment lever is located on the steering column. Simply pull the lever back to loosen to tilt the steering to the desired position. Then push the lever forward to tighten. To the right of the operator's seat, you'll find the control panel. Here is the parking brake. Pull up to engage and push down to disengage. It should always be engaged when starting. This is the hour meter. And this 4-cluster gauge houses the engine oil pressure warning light, engine coolant temperature warning light. In a high water temperature situation, this light would come on and the engine will kill. Charge indicator and the glow plug indicator light. This is the Reel enable disable switch, the key switch, and the throttle. This is the Reel lift and shift control lever. Pull back to raise the reels, push forward to lower the reels. Your cutting units will not drop unless the engine is running. And on mowers equipped with the Sidewinder option, move the lever from side to shift the reels. This should only be done when the cutting units are raised or if they're on the ground and the machine is moving. This slot on the operator's platform will show you when the cutting units are in the center position. This is our 3-position switch for starting, and this is a lift lever lock that will prevent the cutting units from dropping when locked. To start the unit, have your foot off the traction pedal. Make sure the parking brake is on. Push the throttle half open and make sure the Enable-Disable toggle switch is in the disable position. Turn the ignition switch to the on preheat position. Once the glow plug indicator light goes out, turn the key to the start position and release the key when the engine starts. Do not crank the engine for longer than 15 seconds. If the engine doesn't start within that time, repeat the entire process. And remember, always operate the machine at full throttle. To shut the unit down, return the throttle to the idle position and turn the key off. Lift this cover off the control panel and you'll find the fuse block. Before changing any fuse, check with your supervisor because using the wrong fuse could damage the electrical system. You'll also find the real speed control knob. Check the owner's manual for the desired position. And here is the back lap knob. There are 4 fluids you need to check before operating the Reelmaster 3100D. The hydraulic fluid tank is located here on the right-hand side of the machine. Clean the area of any debris before removing the cap. Remove the dipstick, and the hydraulic fluid level should be within 1/4 inch of this notch. Unlatch the hood. To check the engine oil, remove this dipstick. If the oil level is not within the notch area, add the recommended oil by removing this cap on the left side of the engine. The coolant in the expansion tank should be between these 2 lines. Never remove the radiator cap because coolant under pressure is dangerous. If coolant is needed, it should be added through the expansion tank. If any of these fluids are needed, contact your maintenance supervisor. Your Reelmaster 3100D uses diesel fuel, and the fuel gauge is located here in front of the seat on the operator's platform. It's important that you don't run out of fuel, because if you do, air will need to be bled from the fuel system, resulting in needless downtime. This should only be done by your maintenance staff. And when fueling, only fill the tank to the bottom of the fill neck. And finally, remember to periodically check the tire pressure. Incorrect tire pressure could affect the traction, performance, and quality of cut you receive with your Reelmaster 3100D. Tire pressure should be between 14 and 18 psi front and rear. We're now ready to begin operating the Reelmaster 3100D. Kristen will be our operator. Hi. She's read the owner's manual, completed the safety education training program, and has performed the preventative maintenance. Start the engine and run it at half idle until it warms up. Push the throttle lever all the way forward. Lift the cutting units. Disengage the parking brake. Press the forward traction pedal and carefully drive off to an open area. To stop the unit, lift your foot off the traction pedal and set the parking brake. Lower the cutting units. Then return the throttle to the idle position and turn the key off. For your protection, as well as the protection of any bystanders, the Reelmaster 3100D is equipped with several interlock switches. To check the traction pedal interlock, depress the traction pedal and try starting the engine. It should not crank. To check the Enable-Disable toggle switch interlock, press the switch down and try to start the engine. Again, it shouldn't crank. Another interlock check is the seat switch. Make sure that you have the parking brake disengaged. Start the engine and lift yourself off the seat. Depress the traction pedal slowly. The engine should stop in 1 to 3 seconds. To check the final interlock switch, start the engine, engage the reels, and drop the cutting units. pull back on the lift lever and the reels should stop when fully raised. If any of these interlock checks do not work, do not operate the machine. Bring it to the attention of your maintenance supervisor immediately. There is one last thing that you need to be aware of before you start operating the Reelmaster 3100D, especially on hills. This mower has a unique traction system that will allow the machine to move forward, even if the uphill wheels should come off the ground, unlike any other machines that you may be familiar with. If that should happen, you, the operator, or any bystanders, can be seriously injured or killed in a rollover. The slope angle at which the machine will tip is dependent on many factors. Among these factors are mowing conditions, such as wet or undulating turf, speed, especially in turns, tire pressure, and operator experience. At slope angles of 20 degrees or less, your risk of a rollover is low. As the slope angle increases to a Toro recommended maximum limit of 25 degrees, your risk of a rollover increases to a moderate level. And do not exceed a 25 degrees slope angle because your risk of a rollover and serious injury or death is very high. To determine which hills or slopes that may safely operated on, an inclinometer like this has been provided with each machine. To perform the site survey, lay a 4-foot 2x4 on the slope surface and measure the angle of the slope. The 2x4 will average the slope but will not take into consideration dips or holes. And the maximum angle should not be greater than 25 degrees. When performing this site survey, always use common sense and take into consideration the turf condition and the rollover risk. And remember, always wear your seatbelt. Now take some time to practice operating the Reelmaster 3100D. Practice going both forward and in reverse, starting and stopping the machine. To stop, take your foot off the traction pedal and let it return to neutral, or press down on the reverse pedal to stop. Going down a steep hill, you will need to use the reverse pedal to stop. Never operate the machine on hills unless your supervisor has approved them. When possible, mow up and down hills rather than across them. Have the cutting units lowered when going down a hill to maintain steering control. Do not attempt to turn on a hill. And when you're driving on slopes, drive slowly to maintain steering control and avoid turns to prevent rollovers. In side hill situations, you should shift the sidewinder cutting units to the uphill side to give you more stability. This should always be done before going on a side hill. Practice driving around obstacles with the reels up and down, but be careful when driving between narrow objects so you don't damage the machine or cutting units. And on the sidewinder unit, get a feel for the reach of the cutting units so you don't hang them up or damage them in any way. Remember, don't shift the units from side to side unless the cutting units are down and the machine is moving, or the cutting units are up in the transport position. Shifting the cutting units when they are down while not moving may cause turf damage. Once you're familiar with driving the machine, you're ready to start mowing. Remember, the Reelmaster is a precision mowing machine, so always drive slowly in rough areas. If a person appears in or near the area where you're operating, stop the machine and don't start up again until the area is cleared. The Reelmaster is a one-person machine. Never let anyone else ride on the machine with you. This is extremely dangerous and could result in serious injury. Remember that accidents can happen to anyone. The most common causes are excessive speed, sudden turns, terrain, And with the Real Master 3100D, that's knowing what slopes and hills can be mowed safely, not stopping the engine before leaving the operator's seat, and drugs, which impair your alertness. Cold capsules or prescription drugs may cause drowsiness, as can alcohol and other drugs. Stay alert and stay safe. Failure to do so could result in serious injury. Now that we've explained how to operate the Real Master 3100D, let's cover some specific mowing techniques. When you reach the mowing area, turn off the machine, set the parking brake, and carefully examine the area for debris that might get caught between the reel and bed knife. If something does get caught in a reel while you're mowing, stop, turn off the engine, and set the parking brake. Remove the object with a stick or some other tool that keeps you well away from the reels. Never use your hands to dislodge any object that's caught between the reel and bed knife. There are several techniques you should use for the best possible cut. Always cut in the direction specified by your superintendent. To begin cutting, engage the reels and then approach the mowing area slowly. Once the front reels are over the mowing area, lower the cutting units. To achieve the professional straight line cut and striping that is desirable for some applications, find a tree or other object in the distance and drive straight toward it. As soon as the front reels reach the edge of the mowing area, lift the cutting units and perform a teardrop turn, like this, to quickly line you up for your next pass. Mowing around bunkers, ponds, or other contours is easily done with the Real Master 3100D with Sidewinder. To use the Sidewinder application, move the control lever left or right, depending on your mowing application. Sidewinder offers up to a maximum of 22 inches of overhang, allowing you to trim closer to the edge of traps and other obstacles, while at the same time keeping the tractor tires as far away from the edge of the traps or water hazards as possible. If an obstacle is in the way, shift the cutting units to easily mow around it. If, for any reason, the Real Master 3100D becomes inoperable, you'll need to open this bypass valve 90 degrees. Tow the machine very slowly. This should only be done for a short distance. And remember, if anything sounds funny, feels different, or smells unusual, bring it to the attention of your maintenance supervisor immediately. After mowing, always clean the machine and check it over. First, turn off the engine, set the parking brake, and remove the key. With compressed air, clean around the engine. Tilt the oil cooler out and clean around the radiator and oil cooler assembly with compressed air. The air cleaner assembly has a dust bowl that can be cleaned by removing this cover. The air cleaner may need to be cleaned more often in dirty or dusty conditions. After the machine has cooled down, use low-pressure water to wash it down. Proper lubrication should occur after cleaning to minimize corrosion. The cutting units and traction unit have a number of grease fittings. Refer to your owner's manual for the location of these fittings. To lubricate a fitting, first wipe it off, then pump grease into the fitting, and wipe off any excess grease. If you're asked to perform any additional maintenance, refer to your operator's manual and ask your maintenance supervisor for assistance. As you're inspecting the machine, you should also be aware of potential hydraulic leaks. If you should suspect a leak, use a piece of cardboard, not your hand, to search for the leak. Hydraulic fluid escaping under pressure can have sufficient force to penetrate skin and cause serious injury. Use common sense, and please remember the following points. Read the operator's manual. This videotape is not a substitute. Your Reel Master is a precision mower, so treat it with caution and respect. Most accidents are caused by speed, terrain, not stopping the engine before leaving the seat, and drugs. Use caution at all times, and dress properly. Practice under supervision until you're familiar with the Reel Master's operation. Never operate the machine on slopes or hills that have not been approved by a supervisor. Check the interlock switches daily. Stop mowing when a person appears near the mowing area. Remember, no passengers at all. And check the fluids every day before operating. And bring the Reel Master to your supervisor if anything seems unusual. Follow these simple procedures and your Reel Master will do everything you need it to do. I'm Bill Cooper. Thanks for your attention and for joining me for a look at the Toro Reel Master 3100D.